let me tell you something. Automated systems for companies like Windstream, Dish Network, and uh, Comcast, and all that stuff, those things are much like Walmart. They are designed to test the patience of Christians. That is for sure. Especially when the automated system calls you and it don't know what it will call you about. So, I am Cecil Pearson Jr., and this is a live session to answer questions for anybody who may have any questions about my life and death experience, May the 2nd, 1985. I have been dead several times since then, but nothing to the extent of the 38 minutes that I was dead before. Again, if you'd like to help with the ministry, you can send donations or anything like that to Cecil Pearson Jr., Post Office Box 355, Collins, Georgia 30421. That's Post Office Box 355, Collins, Georgia 30421. Now, the reason I'm doing that is I've had several people email me and say, why don't you tell people how to help you out a little bit? So that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry, my Georgia accent is pretty thick today. I'm really not in a frame of mind to try to hide where I'm from. Not today. Today is mine and my wife's anniversary. We would have been married 17 years today, and we would have been together for 18. But the good Lord called her home, and that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, we're like I say, if you have a question or you want a question answered about what I experienced, um, I'll do my best to answer it for you. I mean, I did my best on the videos, but there was some stuff that you just forget to put in the video, and it's hard to make certain that everything is there. Um, so yeah, basically, in 1985, May the 2nd, it was May the 1st, really. I got carried down to the Fort Stewart Hospital. I was 18 years old and got carried down to the Fort Stewart Hospital. Woke up and there was blood all over this side of the right side of my head. I forget the camera turns me backwards. So there was blood on the right side of my head here, and it run out of my ear. And uh, they carried me down. My dad carried me down to Fort Stewart, and they checked it out, and they found out that there was something called a clusteatoma on the inside of it, which is basically a big tumor. So they sent me from there down to Brunswick to a hospital, and like I say, I don't name the hospitals and I don't name the docs because they don't need to be bugged and they don't need to be bothered. But I do have the documentation for proof if I'm ever called on the carpet about it. Um, but anyways, they sent me down there, and he said, "Oh boy, you got to have surgery first thing in the morning. So we're gonna go ahead and put you in the hospital tonight." And they put me in the hospital, and my mom, she didn't want to believe it. She was one of them people that just really didn't care to hear there was something wrong with a boy. I don't know why, because she mistreated me most of my whole life, just almost beat me to death. From the time I was about one to, well, I got 13 years old, and my daddy told me, don't you let your mama hit you no more. But anyways, I digress. Um, the next morning they come in, they got me and carried me off to surgery, and what had happened was the tumor that was in the middle ear had eaten through the back wall of the mastoid and had eaten into the actual brain cavity. They call it the cranial cavity, but it had actually eaten into that, and they had to call in a brain surgeon to make sure they wasn't, gonna mess me up too bad when they took all that stuff out. Well, sometime during that time, I died and was dead for 38 minutes. Now, I've told the story, so I'm not going to retell it here, but I've told the story. And some of the questions that I've been getting by email is, what did the angels look like? Well, they're huge. They're beautiful. They're unlike anything that I've ever, they're flawless, they're perfect. And yes, they do have wings, but not like you would think, and not like the pictures that people draw of them, and certainly unlike anything that you've seen on the TV show called Supernatural. Nothing like that. But they do have wings, and they're very beautiful. However, they're also very menacing. They are soldiers after all. Their sole job is to protect God and heaven and to worship God. That is their job. Their job is to worship God and to do whatever He says. See, angels don't have free will like human beings do. So they don't get to make a choice. If they try to make a choice, they get thrown out immediately by God. So these angels, it's like they have a light that radiates from them, and you can kind of feel love from them. But at the same time, if they coming for you, it ain't love that you feel. It's nothing but business. It's hate. And I hate to say hate because angels ain't supposed to have feelings, but there ain't no more love coming from them. So if it ain't love, to me, it's got to be hate. It's got to be one or the other. It can't be no in between. And they picked me up and throwed me down in the pit. And that's what they did. And one of the questions, another question that I've gotten has been about, are there really that many people in hell being deposited in hell? Yeah. It's a steady stream of folks being dropped in. Now, a guy asked me, how many folks make it into heaven? I can't answer that question because when you're judged, there's not a line of people behind you. You're there standing on your own. And when that opens, you go to your knees because you can't stand up in the presence of God. You can't. The sheer presence and the power of the light that comes out of that room cuts you to the core. And I'm guessing it cut me because I was a sinner. That's why I couldn't stand up under it. And there was no opportunity to plead my case. There was no St. Peter at the gate. There was no, this is your life playing before you. There was none of that. No. It was on my knees in front of God and hearing Him say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I've never known you. There wasn't no chance, but God, I played piano for you and I helped get a bunch of people saved. There wasn't none of that. Oh, no. There was no chance to explain myself. You either are or you ain't. But there ain't no in between with God. There ain't no, well, God, this is what I did, but. Oh, no. It's judgment. You'll either hear, enter in, my good and faithful servant, or you will hear, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I have never known you. That's all there is. There ain't no, oh, you did a good job, but you made a couple of mistakes, so we're going to do this for you. No, Ain't no levels of hell. There's heaven and there's hell. Ain't no levels of hell. It's just hell. And yes, Lucifer's there. He's the one beautiful thing that's there. And I know you people hate when people say that, but you forget. Lucifer, Satan, is a fallen angel, which means he's beautiful. How do you think he deceives so many people? See? If a goat with horns and an ugly face walked up on its hind legs to you and said, hey, how about you having some of this here alcohol and let's go find a prostitute? You'd know it was the devil. But if this beautiful, beautiful person walked up to you and said, ooh, let me buy you a drink and then maybe we'll see if we can't go find some fun to have. See, you'd be more, what they call it, you'd be more apt to listen to what the devil had to say because he presented himself as something pretty. If he presented himself in what everybody thinks he looks like, nobody would ever be tortured or tempted or tried because everybody would know, hey, that's the devil. You know, he don't come with horns and a tail. He comes like the angel of light that he is. And you got to be careful, and you got to watch out for him, and you got to pay attention. And somebody asked me why Jesus came to pick me up when I died. Why not an angel? Why not the angel of death or whatever they think it is? The Grim Reaper, I guess. Why Jesus? Well, I believe this. Jesus said to the disciples, straight is the way and narrow is the gate. Okay? Straight is the way and narrow is the gate. And then at another point in time in the Bible, he says, no man come to the Father except by me. So I believe he has to pick each and every one of us up and take us through the gate of heaven. That's the only way God would even let us get in to be judged, is because Jesus brought us before him to be judged. And that's just something that I feel to be the way it is you don't get into you don't get into heaven unless Jesus takes you through the gate. You know, there's a lot of jokes and stuff about St. Peter standing there at the gate and with the big book of life and all. Yeah, there ain't none of that. It's just a beautiful gate. Just a beautiful gate. And it leads right straight to the throne room. And it's a beautiful city. Beautiful city. Like I said, the smell for me was fresh bread and honey. And it smelled absolutely wonderful. Y'all have to excuse my little puppy down there. I got a little Chihuahua puppy a person gave me. They was done selling on them, and they gave me the runt. And I'm gonna tell you, little Speedy, he's a mess. He barks and carries on quite a bit, and he ain't big as a minute. But anyways, again, I digress. Hello there, Mr. Webb. Nice to see you. God bless you too, sir. Let me look here at the if people want to what did it feel like to die? Honestly, it didn't feel like anything. I just I was asleep from anesthesia, and I just kind of woke up. And when I woke up, I could see the doctors there working on me. They were doing everything they could do. They was doing CPR and defibrillating me. And then that over my right shoulder, that staircase appeared that I talked about on the video. And it was Jesus coming to get me, like I said. And there was no feeling. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I was with Jesus, there wasn't a thought in my head, not one. Not one. I didn't have a care in the world, not one. I didn't care that my daddy was going to be hurt. I didn't care that my mama was going to be hurt. I didn't care. There wasn't a care one. I was with Jesus. I was at peace. And we went up those stairs. And it, like I say, it was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was wonderful. The music that I could hear, the singing I could hear was unlike anything I've heard on the earth. The closest thing I have found has been the Celtic woman singing. That's that kind of harmony that you hear only better in heaven. But these people, this is just, it was so hard to describe. It was just like my physical body. There really wasn't no difference. I mean, I could feel it. I could touch it. When I got down on my knees there and before God, the light hurt me. Have I had any spiritual attacks that try to keep me from? Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I'm in a spiritual war right now. But anyway, about what the body feels like first is when that light of God hit me when his light hit me, it hurt. It was a physical pain. When I was dropped into hell, it felt like it broke bones, but it didn't. And the heat was so intense that it felt like it was melting the skin right off, melting the skin, and the meat was just going to run off the bone. I halfway looked down at my arm and see that it was burnt completely off. It was like it is here, just like it is here. Like nothing had happened to it. It was just pain. And so yeah, the spiritual body is much like the same body that I had here, as far as I could tell. But we were passing through things, so it's a little different. I mean, we were going through hospital floors and over the galaxy, and I mean, it was just you can feel pain, you can feel your body, you can feel pleasure, because like I say, when I smelt that fresh bread and honey, it made me feel pleasure. And when I when I felt the light of God hit me, I felt pain. When the angels picked me up and dropped me, I felt fear. So, I mean, you still have all the feelings that you have, but you're able to pass through objects, I guess, as long as you're in that particular dimension or whatever you want to call it, in that particular spatial time. We'll put it that way, a spatial time. The spiritual attacks. Oh, yes, people, friends, neighbors, family members, anybody can be used to try to keep you from getting your word out and try to break you down. Right now, I'm in a spiritual attack over on Facebook. A bunch of boys are saying that I didn't work at a place that I worked at, and they don't know because I didn't work with them. I worked for somebody else, and but they're trying to discredit me, so I had to upload the proof to prove my point, which was that I was telling the truth. So yeah, there's spiritual attacks that's going to come, and it's not just going to be spiritual. Some of it's going to be physical. It's going to be friends. It's going to be neighbors. It's going to be anybody that the devil can use to manipulate you or to try to make you not do what you know you're supposed to be doing for God. Like right now, I keep thinking about my wife because, like I say, today's our anniversary. And it's a painful thing. And I didn't realize that it was going to be my anniversary today before I decided to go live today. But because I promised I was going to go live, here I am. Because that's what my wife would expect. Oh, hush, Speedy. Because that's what my little wife would expect. She would expect me to keep my word and do what I said I was going to do. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate it. And there's going to be more of these question and answer stuff. It's not just going to be about my life and death experience, because there's only so much I can tell about that. Once you've told the whole story, other than, adding a detail or two here or there that got left out, there really ain't a whole lot more to add to that. But it is nice to be able to do this, to be able to have a live interaction with the folks that's been asking, and know this. And I said this yesterday, when you people ask me for prayer, I pray for you. I really do. I pray for you. And I've got a little bottle of oil over there that came out of a Bible that just secretes oil. Now, they've tested the oil, and the oil is nothing. They run it through the mass spectrometer. The people that own the Bible did, and you can have the oil for free. They don't sell it. You can have the oil for free. All you got to do is just get over the... There, I think we got reconnected. But yeah, they'll give you as much of the oil as you want. You just got to make sure that yeah, I've seen some of the heaven and hell experience things that's on YouTube, and I think some of them are very believable, and then I think some of them are just so far out there that I can't judge them because I don't know. because your salvation is a personal experience. So I can't judge them and say, well, yeah, for sure that's right, or yeah, for sure that's wrong. So far, though, there hasn't been anybody that has been able to go into greater detail of hell as I've been able to go into. And I do believe that's because of the memory the good Lord gave me. But there are, I do believe that there's some of the uh, stories out there are exactly what they say. Like that one guy I watched that said Jesus sat him down and talked to him, and that he got to sit in the lap of God and talk and ask questions. I believe that. I believe that for sure. But the man had to be right. He couldn't have been a sinner. He had to be right. Because sin can't sit in the presence of God, and God don't talk to sin. So he had to be right in his heart, which I think is why I didn't get to spend any time there with God, is because I wasn't right in my heart. I hadn't accepted Jesus as my Savior, and I hadn't accepted God as my Lord and King and my Master. So I can't. Like I say, he had to have been right with God to be able to sit down and talk with him and let God give him the answers and show him things. And I'm proud that there are people like that that are out there that face the ridicule like I do, and they post their stories so we can hear them and we can see them, and we can know that God really is merciful. I mean, I know He's merciful because He let Jesus come get me out of the pit. He didn't have to do that. He could have left me right there. He didn't have to bring me back. No, He didn't. He didn't have to give me a chance to sit here on YouTube today and talk to you guys and tell you that heaven is real and that hell is real, and I've been to both places. He didn't have to do that. But I want y'all to know something. Somebody said, "Oh man, I wish I could have a near-death experience where I'd know for myself." No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want that. Because one thing that every person who has died and seen heaven and hell have in common is we have an awful life afterward. We're plagued with illness and sickness and pain and disease, and we're plagued with it. And I believe it's because God allows, but see, God has to allow the devil to come against us. Remember in the Bible where He said, "Consider your servant Job, take your hedge down that I might try him, that he might show himself approved." Well, God has to grant permission for the devil to be able to come against us the way that he does. And because we don't have to go by faith, we've seen it, we get a whole lot more trying and pushing, trying to drive us away from what we know to be true in order to turn us, to make us look bad, and to discredit our testimony for people who have heard it. So please don't wish that you have. Take it by faith, folks. You don't want to take it by fact, because MS sucks. Diabetes sucks. Losing loved ones suck. I'd often said as the Lord had left me with one thing, and that was the ability to eat, that I love my food. Now, I look big and I weigh 300 pounds, but it's not because I only eat about twice a day, and it's small meals. I'm this way because I have congestive heart failure, and I've got a fatty liver. And no, it didn't come from drinking. They call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That. Here's what I got. We got out here. Um, it's cheap quality now. Worry that they have question. How do I look at? I do as really look at it. Um, that the part is and it's going to fall away. But that soul rise up, have to out judging other folk. You know, it's a lot of people, they like to judge people who drink. They like to judge people who cuss, who smoke. They like to judge the homosexuals. They like to judge everybody. But that's not what business we're supposed to be in. We're supposed to be in a loving business. We're supposed to love people. We're supposed to let God's love show through us. And as long as we're able to allow that love to show through us, then there'll be more people who will want to be there for that. They'll want to be around that. And the more folks are around the love of God, the more they want it. And when they finally able to receive it for themselves, then if they got a problem drinking, they won't have a problem drinking anymore. If they got a problem with drugs, they won't have a problem with drugs anymore. Whatever the problem is in their life, they won't have that problem anymore because God will take care of it. So it's really not up to me and you or anybody else to judge anybody on what they do and what they don't do. Our job is to love them and to let them know that God loves them. That's what our job is. And that's what you're doing, is you're not taking care of the person, you're taking care of the soul. So yeah, I see people as souls more so than people. But I guess that's gonna wrap it up today. I will try to come back. What is today? Monday. I'll try to come back Wednesday at about, we'll say 5 o'clock Eastern time. Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be back live, and I'll take whatever questions you got. So if you folks want to write them down and get them ready ahead of time, I'll be back live, and we'll have another talk. We'll just sit and chat, but it won't be about life after death. Now, I mean, if you ask your questions, then I'll answer them. But that's not what I'm going to come on and talk about. I'm going to come on and talk about something else. But until then, may the good Lord bless you. May he shine his light upon you and show you all the